Hey, fourth grade. I want to keep talking about what am I supposed to do with these remainders like we did yesterday. But today I want to talk about, now that you kind of know how it works and what your options are, I want to talk about communicating your answer here today, because that can be a little tricky. So if you will, make this the title of your next free page in your math notebook. When you've done that, mark your page with your pencil, close it up, and give me your concentration until we get to we do. Alright, so yesterday, here was an I do from yesterday, right? So we talked about, okay, in real division problems, we have to figure out what to do with this remainder. We can't say we're going to have a league with 11 remainder 1 teams. Doesn't make sense. And on the next one, we couldn't say we're going to ship 102 remainder 4 boxes. Makes sense. You can't include a remainder in an answer to like a real question. It just doesn't make sense. I'm gonna need 22 remainder 4 at each table. Like, you can't do that. So we learned our options yesterday. So like when it came to baseball, they were, right? I'm not going to redo the division because today I want to talk about communicating your answer. So after we did the division yesterday, we came up with 11 remainder 1 teams. That meant there was 11 teams of 9 people, because that was a team we divided by 9. And then there was 1 person left over that did not fit on a team of 9. And we considered 3 possible options for what to do. So number 1 was make like an extra group. So have 11 teams of 9 and 1 extra team of 1. We didn't like that. Doesn't make sense to have a baseball team with 1 player. Option number 2, leave it out. So that would kind of be okay. 11 teams of 9 and 1 person is left out. That would work. Wasn't always like the kindest answer, but it would work. And then option 3, make some of the groups a little bigger. 1 team gets a 10th player is how that would work. So I'm going to do some erasing here. And I want to just focus today on, okay, after I've done all this thinking and all this considering, how do I write my answer to this question in a way that communicates that I know what I'm talking about? The reason I'm choosing to make a lesson about this is before, when I haven't, I'll get students that their answer to the question is like, I choose option 3. And they say that like option 3, someone reading your paper may not know what option 3 refers to. They may not know, they might know what we're talking about. But some of these terms, like option 1, 2, 3, those are just things that I made up. They all make sense, but it's not like option 1 is a known mathematical thing that anybody would know what you were talking about. So I want to make sure we talk about how to write a good answer to this question. So if this was your question, and you did all of your math perfectly, you divided, you got 11 remainder 1, and you looked at option 1, yes, option 2, no, or option 2, yes, option 3, no, and you kind of decided, like, I don't want that, this would be okay, this would be okay. There's kind of like a 3-step process I want you to consider to answer these questions. So step 1 is consider all the possibilities. We did that yesterday. We tried this, we tried this, we tried this. We decided number 2 and number 3 make the most sense. Okay? So again, how many teams can we make? So after you've considered all the possibilities, part 2 is choose the best one. In this case, we had 2 that make sense. You may choose either one, that whichever one you think is the best option. But when it comes to answering the question, most of the time it's going to be easiest to choose one. Otherwise, you have to explain 2 answers. It would be okay to say, hey, there's 2 possibilities. We can have 11 teams of 9 and 1 person's left out, or we can have 11 teams of 9 and 1 gets a 10th player. It's okay to explain both, but you may not want to all the time. And so number 3 is explain what both parts of the answer mean. Right? So now that we're saying we can't say we have 11 remainder 1 teams, if this one were me, I would probably choose this one, option 3. And this is what I need to say. I need to say, explain what both parts of the answer mean. What does the 11 mean, and what does the 1 mean? I did my division. The person reading my answer knows I can do the math. explain now. What's the 11 and what's the 1? So I would probably say something like, I would make 11 teams of 9. Then, I'm going to stretch this out, there is a remainder of 1, and I would choose to add that extra player to one of the teams. So one team gets a 10th player. Something like that. Some way that now when I read my answer, when I read your answer, I know that not only do you understand the math, not only did you think about the 3 possibilities, but you even know how to interpret what happens in that possibility. Make one of the groups a little bigger. Don't just say make one of the teams bigger. Say very specifically, I would make 11 teams of 9, because that's where your 11 is in your answer. There is a remainder of 1 from your answer. And what does that mean? I would choose to add that extra player to one of the teams. So one team gets a 10th player. Now I know that not only can you do the math, but you understand totally what is going on with the remainder and with the 11 in the problem. Okay? Let's go revisit the next one. So again, here's all our work from yesterday. We did the math. I don't want to worry about the math. A warehouse puts packages into paper into boxes. A box can hold 8 packages, and they have 820 packages. How many boxes will they need? So here's all the work we did yesterday. So today we're just all about making sure we communicate the answer in a way that makes sense. So I might say something like, so when we did this yesterday, I believe I just erased it, I know. We said this one wouldn't work because you can't fit a 9th package in a box that can only hold 8. Doesn't work. But we were okay with this, right? Saying, okay, we're going to send 102 boxes and keep 4. The leftover 4 packages, or send 102 full boxes, 1 more box with 4 packages. In this case, it doesn't say they have to send all the packages. Lots of time it does. If you read the questions carefully, lots of time it'll say they have to send them all. And if that was the case, we couldn't use this one either. But if it doesn't say so, then we'll leave the option. So again, first step, consider all the answers. Second step, choose the best one. So between option 1 and option 2 here, you can pick the best one. I think I will probably pick option 1 here because that lets them send all the boxes. And a lot of times in math problems, that's what we're trying to do. So I'm going to choose option 1. And then 3, explain both parts of the answer. So as we go, now I'm going to explain what the 102 means, and I'm going to explain what the remainder means. So in this one, I would probably say I would probably say 820 divided by 8 is 102 with a remainder of 4. So to send all of the packages, they will need 103 boxes. 102 will be full, and the 103rd, which doesn't fit on my screen, will only have 4 packages in it. So when you really talk this through and you explain what the numbers mean, then your reader can tell that not only do you understand the math, but you understand the problem. Okay? Open your math notebook up. If you want to just open up to yesterday, honestly, that's fine, because that way you don't have to redo all this math and all this business here. So I'm setting up a banquet hall that has 9 long tables. I have 202 chairs, and I want to put them equally at the 9 tables. How many will be at each table? So yesterday we already did the math, 22 remainder 4. So every table gets 22, and there's 4 left over, and I have to decide what to do with the 4. Looks from my symbols here like every option was possible. An extra table with 4 chairs. I don't love that. Like if every table has 22 chairs, and then there's 1 more table with 4 chairs, that's not close to 22. I may not like that one, but it's not impossible. Maybe it is impossible. It says it has 9 tables. So that one may be kind of risky, even though it might technically work. That may not be a great one to choose out of the three. Leave it out, 200 chairs at each one, put 4 chairs away, that would be fine. Or option 3, make some a little bigger, 22 chairs at each, squeeze 1 extra at 4 tables. I like that too. I think, just in case they're hard to fit another one, it probably doesn't matter. I think really 2 or 3 are fine. And you can choose to explain each one that you care to. I'm going to probably choose option 2 this time. So here are your steps, right? Number 1, consider all 3 possibilities. You did this yesterday. Make sure you know which ones are possible, which ones are not. 2, choose the best one. I don't want you to just submit an answer that says you could do option 2 or you could do option 3. That's not good mathematical explaining, even though it is correct if you explain what option 2 are. People don't know what option 2 means and what option 3 means. So I want you to consider them, but then I want you to choose one, and then after you've chosen it, explain both parts of the answer. So in this case, I might say something like 202 divided by 9 is 22 with a remainder of 4. So I would put 22 chairs at each table and put the other 4 chairs away. Ta-da! And that's it. Now, if you really wanted to go above and beyond and like you really think option 3 is just as good as option 2 or option 1 is just as good as option 2, you're welcome to explain a second answer along with it. But lots of times you can just sound the most decisive by choosing one. But if you wanted to go on and say another possibility would be to put a 23rd chair at 4 of the tables. That would be fine too. As long as you explain what you're doing with the main number and what you're doing with the remainder, we're good. Okay? So that's just about communicating and making sure you do a good job of explaining answers. If you feel like you have a handle on this after these 3, you're all set. If you need to go back and rewatch any to make sure you come to class tomorrow ready to roll, I would appreciate that. And that's it. Can't wait to see you tomorrow.